okay, women actually like the way I style. I'm bored at home. There's nothing for me to do. Let me start an Instagram page and post styling videos and hacks or whatever. I wasn't thinking of it as a monetary, like, you know, like, or like a side hustle.
Yeah.
I just thought, let me just do it. I'm bored. I mean, nobody is going out, so they're sitting and watching my videos. And I didn't know what to do. The laborers left. And we had about 600, 700 saris that had to be delivered, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was completely lost. It wasn't something that excited me or whatever, but then I had to still fulfill those orders because it was lying. It was just, I went to Gujarat, tried to like get these guys back. They were all in some different villages or whatever. Obviously, when they're used to working with someone, they're not gonna like. First time that I styled anybody, it was Rashmika Mandana.
Okay.
I flew to Hyderabad. It was for some cover of a magazine.
I follow many influencers and stylists on social media. I've always wondered the mix of their personal life, public persona, and what's it like in real. Whether they actually endorse products they believe in or it's just the money. And then it all seems like they're having fun shooting and trying out new fashion trends, shoes, and accessories. And then I had this opportunity to chat with Pavitra Sagar from Chennai. Well, in my opinion, that's the thing about Chennai and the people from here. You'll be in a big public space with a big businessman next to you, but they'll never make you feel like they're big. And so with Pavitra, she's quite the opposite of the haughty attitude most stylists carry. And it's interesting to even know that coming from a biotechnology background, how she makes it big in the influencers market, but just having the sheer knack of putting things together. So she's fun, she talks about how she began, how far she's come, the interesting people she's styled, and the challenges like mom guilt. So, and also balancing fashion at work and giving exams with her children. Let's get to this chat.
Welcome to Expressions. Today I have Pavitra Sagar with me. I'm really excited to chat with her. Thank you, Pavitra, for coming
It's
here.
my absolute pleasure, and I'm so happy to be here.
Yes. Let's start by asking you that what do you really do, and let's talk about what excites you about your work.
So I'm going back to 2014,
Yeah.
when my friend and I, we were just bored. I mean, she has studied fashion and business. She's worked at Grazia. For me, I come from a background of science. I've studied microbiology. I topped in my school. I've done biotechnology. In fact, my role model was Kiran Mazumdar. Okay, so that was a direction where I was actually going. And then my husband, so we met in school. Things changed. I suddenly didn't want to study. I got into NUS and Temasek, and then I decided just want to get married. Got married, and then after a couple of years after I had my children, so Nikita and I thought, you know, in Chennai the options or to buy good, trendy, stylish Western wear was very limited. So we thought, why not travel to the east, primarily Hong Kong, not so much China, because we still wanted to maintain and bring back good quality stuff. So we took a lakh each from our husbands, went there, bought a bunch of things, shopped more for ourselves, came back, called our immediate friends, about 200 of them. So they actually came, they helped us iron the clothes, put it on a rack. We got a space for free. The next day at the sale, it was a sellout. But given the costs and all that, we probably ended up making about 5,000 rupees. But then the response was so overwhelming that we thought, okay, maybe we should do it another time. The second time, the same drill happened. We got better stuff. Probably ended up making 20,000 rupees. So our husbands were like, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. You're not spending enough time with the kids. Enough, now stop. That's when we started thinking, now there's so much talent in the country. There are so many Indian brands who are doing such good work. Why not speak to them, try and get clothes on consignment and see how it does. At that point, I think there was just like one or two multi-collage maybe, and they were more expensive and they were like bigger, designers. So, and our focus and we wanted to bring reasonable, affordable designer clothing to Chennai. So we spoke to these brands. A lot of these brands, I would make the calls. She's the business, she's the back end. And when I would call them and ask them if you would like to come to Chennai, they're like, no, people only wear saris in Chennai. And a lot of them would not even give us the importance or the time to even like, see if we, it was worth coming.
Yeah.
And for the first show, we actually had to pay out of our pocket. We had to give a deposit because they didn't trust the market and they didn't trust us. We were nobody.
Yeah.
And we had a 2-day show that time. There were 2 or 3 brands who completely sold out. And the clothes were about 25K. And and they sent the stock. So we showcased the pieces. And they were so happy that everybody came back. And then word got around. We got some Lakme Fashion Week designers to participate at our 4th edit. We'd just done 2 edits, gone to Hong Kong, brought clothes. The 3rd edit where we had to pay a deposit.
Yeah.
The 4th time around, we had Fashion Week designers who actually came. Again, it was a sellout. It was a concept. We were very clear that we didn't want to follow an exhibition model. So ours was more of a curated pop-up. So at the 4th edit, there was a curated menu. Deepali Goyal, so she helped us curate. We had music, we had a DJ, and it was more like a party.
Yeah.
And women would come, they'd lunch, and we had Clarins and another brand we had a mini spa.
Okay.
So it was more of an experience that we were trying to give. And it was an instant hit.
What was it called then?
Funky Fish.
Okay.
So my friend and I, we met at Anokhi. We were like, what do we do? I mean, what can we do wherein we don't have to invest a lot of money, and yet it has to be something that excites us.
Yeah.
And both of us love fashion.
Yeah.
And we actually took a tissue paper. We sat, we were having coffee, and then we came up with that name. We designed our logo on I literally drew it. And we were like, Funky Fish. So weird,
Yeah.
but then the name's stuck now, and that's how it started. In 2015, we started. And from Chennai, then we slowly moved to Bangalore. And then we thought, metros, it's already saturated.
Yeah.
There's so much that's happening in terms of the stores and the pop-ups. So our focus was more on 2-tier cities where they don't have access to affordable designer fashion. So today we exhibit in 10 cities. This year we will start exhibiting in 12 cities. We have a website. We ship worldwide.
Okay.
Coming back to styling, so at our pop-ups, women would come up to me and say, we like what you're wearing. You're well put together. Help us put these things together. So I'll probably help them shop at the events. And then COVID hit. Everybody were like at home. I was thinking, okay, women actually like the way I style. I'm bored at home. There's nothing for me to do. Let me start an Instagram page and post styling videos and hacks or whatever. I wasn't thinking of it as a monetary, a side hustle.
Yeah.
I just thought, let me just do it. I'm bored. I mean, nobody is going out, so they're sitting and watching my videos. And then slowly, homegrown brands who I would promote would reach out to me and tell me, listen, we'll give you these clothes for free. Will you promote us? I said, yeah, of course. If I like it, then I will. If I don't like it, I will not. I was very certain about that if it's something that I can afford to buy myself, or if it's a product that I think I will wear, or if my audience will like, only then I take it up. Like I said, it's not my main source of revenue.
Yeah.
So, and also, I mean, so that bit I've always stuck to. And then slowly I started getting offers from brands wherein they were like, okay, we'll pay you so much, will you do it? And that's when it struck me like, oh wow, I can actually make money doing something that I enjoy.
Yeah.
So after that, styling started. A lot of women who reached out to me from different cities, and mostly 2-tier cities where we probably already had a presence, and maybe in cities where they didn't have access to a stylist. And because I was comfortable, doing remote styling, getting on video calls. And then now I have international clients, so it's rewarding.
Fantastic. And you're looking fabulous today. Would you like to talk about your outfit, about your...
So this is from a homegrown label called Trisara.
Okay.
We have a summer edit in Chennai. It's happening on the 3rd and 4th of July. So they're going to be showcasing.
Yeah.
This is just like from off the streets.
But it's fabulous how you've put together, and I love the sleeves,
It's
so
it's
beautiful.
dramatic, right?
Yeah,
Yes, it is. And for me, it's not intentional, but somehow I'm always drawn to pieces that are a little different. It's not because I try to or I want to look this thing, but I just gravitate towards unique pieces.
And you make it
Because
look
where's
so
the
good.
joy in like looking like everybody else, right? You walk into a party, go into a wedding. four, five, six, 10 women are wearing the same anamika from probably the. You don't want to be that. You know, you don't want to look like a clone. You don't want to be carrying like I don't know whatever the it bag. So.
What inspired you to be a personal stylist? Or who inspired you? I mean, is there a story behind that?
Actually, I never, like I mentioned,
Yeah.
it was never on my. I never
Yeah.
thought that I could. I mean, because there's I haven't done any course, no
Yeah.
formal education, nothing. It's just that I had a knack of putting different things together, and some women like caught on and noticed that, and they approached me.
Okay.
And then slowly I thought, why not? Because I'm giving it so much time and energy.
Yeah.
Why not monetize and make that?
Yeah.
So now it's a small team, but I have 2 girls who are helping me. Nothing put together. So I send them looks, they put together like presentations, and then we send it to the clients. And then, so I have a small team. If I can manage to find more time, then I plan to.
And when you started, how easy or difficult was it to make your clients understand the role of a stylist or what you're doing?
See, like I said, it was never my intention
Yeah.
to like force someone to hire me as a
Yeah,
stylist. So they would come to me and say, listen, I have a wedding. I'm going for a holiday
Yeah.
to maybe like Italy or Paris. So it's 2 weeks. Get me a summer wardrobe. And then I'll send them options and then they'll pick. You know, it's funny, growing up, I didn't want to do anything with fashion. My mom owned 2 boutiques. So in our house, we had a unit wherein downstairs we would do batik. Upstairs, it was segregated in 2 sections where one side was block printing, the other side was hand embroidery. And she would export all saris and suits to like South Africa and most stores from your Nalli, Kumaran to Pothys. I mean, we would be sending this thing. I've grown up looking at her. She's had 2 retail stores where she was this thing. I lost my mom to swine flu in 9 years ago. And my children were about 5. And by then, we just started Funky Fish. And we had the whole unit, and I didn't know what to do. The laborers left. And we had about 600, 700 saris that had to be delivered, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was completely lost. It wasn't something that excited me or whatever, but then I had to still fulfill those orders because it was lying. It was just, I went to Gujarat, tried to like get these guys back. They were all in some different villages or whatever. Obviously, when they're used to working with someone, they're not gonna like. And I really tried my best, but unfortunately, I had to sell the unit. I couldn't have done justice. Neither did I know what to do. But I mean, it's so funny that life's again come back full circle because I've grown up in a house where fashion was a part of our growing up. Intentionally or unintentionally, it was always happening around me. But coming back to styling, it's not something that I just think. When women come up to me and say, listen, will you help me? Okay, so I can't wear sleeveless. I can't wear this. Send me options. I still want to experiment a little. I don't mind a peplum. I don't mind embroideries. I don't mind neons. Send me a few options. And then they pick. And that's how it started. I'm still learning. In fact, recently I called up my friend Namita. She's a really big stylist based out of Bombay. I'm like, Namu, please help me. I don't know what to do. And then so sweetly she told me, listen, you do this, you do that. And I'm still learning. So yeah, let's see how life pans out.
And any experience you want to share with us about styling any celebrity or personality who has, who's sort of had a unique experience with you?
So like I said, the first time that I styled anybody, it was Rashmika Mandana.
Okay.
I flew to Hyderabad. It was for some cover of a magazine. And after which, when she called, I've also children and I was traveling, work or whatever. I didn't really think that I would be able to like take it up professionally. But just the fact that, when some of these women call back and say, listen, we really liked what you did. It's satisfying, you know. So it's only now that I'm looking at it as a proper, like a side hustle. But back then I was just doing it because I enjoyed doing it. I was like, wow, somebody's calling me and asking me to style them. That's huge. But in the South, I feel Hyderabad, people are still open to experimenting, and they're very conscious about the way they look inside and outside of a set. Wherever they go, they want to like dress well and look good. because they're constantly being photographed, right?
yeah.
I feel in the other cities in the south, people are not really that, I don't know, particular about like dressing or showing up like in a particular way. It's comfortable, and I don't know, it's slowly changing. It's not that the actors down south don't have a stylist, but they're in their comfortable zone wherein they're okay. I mean, they have their own audience, they have people, their fans or whatever. They're just in that comfortable space where they don't want to experiment with fashion. I feel that way. But Hyderabad is definitely like a booming thing, and a lot of them, most of them have. In fact, I find the men like Samantha as well. In Chennai, I've styled Dee. Dee is a singer, Santosh Narayan's daughter.
Okay.
So she's a fabulous artist. She performs all over the world. And then when she came to me, I was like, wow, I'm much younger. But you should see her videos. I mean, just her pairing, the way she would pair Bhavya Ramesh. And for me, when I saw her the first time, I'm like, wow, and she's from Chennai.
Yeah.
And she said, listen, go like all out. Get me like the most, like people should like turn back and say, oh, wow. And we designed like a hooded gown for her. This was for her Filmfare Some Awards, but she's so talented.
Yeah.
So I feel the younger bunch are still open to like experimenting with newer styles. But otherwise, I find people in Hyderabad, especially the actors, especially the men, always well turned out. Samantha's also, I feel.
Anything, a lot of fun? Any personality when you style them was a lot of fun to do, and you enjoyed a lot?
Dee.
Yeah.
Hands down, yeah. I don't really take up celebrity styling because, like I said, it doesn't excite me as much because I mean, if it's interesting looks, if it's something that kind of pushes the envelope and you are genuinely happy with what you're doing, then it's exciting or it's even worth taking up or spending that much time.
And also, so styling also involves accessories, shoes, bags.
Yeah.
So how have you grown from where you started to now? And I mean, how do you, even with accessories and stuff like that, what are the stuff that has changed or evolved? Is there something you
So,
want to share?
when I was talking to you about Nikita and I, at one point we were bored.
Yeah.
We had children, obviously they were already going to school. And what we shared was a mutual love for fashion and unique accessories. Like nobody knew some of the brands that we would buy.
Yeah.
And we would have essays in like Barney's and Saks and Bergdorf's. And it'll be all smaller brands. It's not the bigger brands or whatever, but it'll be unique pieces.
How did you know about these things?
I mean, just read up.
Okay.
And I don't know, it could be magazines, online. Yeah. But, and that was how, we have very similar tastes. Yeah. I'm a little more experimental, she's safe, but it's very similar, the kind of brands that we like. So at that point, we used to like mindlessly just like keep buying stuff just because, oh my God, it's $500. We've got it on sale. It's $79. Buy it right now. Buy 2 of them. Okay. And from then till now, today, I have cleared out my closet. As an influencer, you get a lot of gifts. There's a lot of unnecessary. I mean, there's only so much that one can consume, right? Over the years, I've become a lot more mindful. In fact, starting, I think January this year, I decided I'm not going to buy anything. It's April, I've not bought a single, nothing I've bought. Maybe 1 or 2 outfits from Zara, but that's it. Because there's already so much. And I keep doing these wardrobe sales where I've been selling it could be my designer bags, my shoes. Because if I have something that I haven't worn or used in the last 6 months or 1 year, I'm getting rid of it. Now I'm actually having a closet sale. I'm just not finding the time. It's all packed and ready. And there's so much that we thought, why not donate to charity? Most of it has come for free. And it's great because it's very satisfying when I have an audience. I have women in fact, 35% of my followers are outside of India. And a lot of them, I have these everyday conversations with women who are also moms, they're working, and we chat about everything, And, somewhere it feels like, okay, I must be doing something right because, and I only have maybe 5% men following me. And I think all those are probably my own friends who I've probably forced them to follow me when I started off. But the demographic also, it's mostly women between 25 to 45, 35 to 45, which is I'm 41. women who are, they know what they want.
Yeah.
So it's nice. It's like a little community that I've built
Yeah.
in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
I started in COVID. That the page I've started during COVID, and it's going good. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's this idea that the south cities like Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore are slightly behind cities like Mumbai and Delhi. What is your, especially in the fashion quotient? So what is your take on that? What is your opinion?
I mean, I'll tell you what. I'm from Chennai.
Yeah.
So when I go to a Bombay or a Delhi, I don't see how they're different
Yeah.
from any of us. In terms of our choices, we are more subtle. We prefer more versatile, timeless pieces that we can probably wear now or 20 years
Yeah,
from now.
yeah.
We prefer quality over quantity.
Yeah.
We do not like flashy. We don't like blingy. We don't like obvious like logo.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
and that
in
is
your
something
face.
that's, I mean, even women, like, when you look at their silk saris, the colors that they choose and the jewelry that they wear. We prefer more classy styles as compared to the north. I mean, there it's a little more like OTT. People like to go all out.
Yeah.
They want to wear.
You're more casual, I think, in the south, right?
We are more understated.
Yeah.
But I don't think in any way you can say that we're any less. They might be wearing an obvious like a Louis Vuitton, like whatever. Here somebody could be wearing like a Loro Piana, whatever, no obvious logo or like branding anywhere. It's just personal choices and it's very different. Even in terms of the clients that I have, it's very different. But it's a personal choice. I don't think it's right for anybody to say that, listen, that is cool and this is not cool. It's just, I feel, personal preferences and our choices. Well, it's very different.
So are the South Indian film industry and celebs as serious as Bollywood in terms of styling? No, you don't think so?
Like I said, I feel Hyderabad they're already there.
You're not the other cities. Tell us how the South is embracing more global and, the fashion silhouettes that you are seeing in.
So I think was
they
it 2
open?
months ago?
Yeah.
Meenakshi Chowdhury. So I don't, so oblivious. I don't watch cinema. I don't have the time. What my kids want to watch is what I watch on Netflix also. That's the only time that I just think. So I have no idea about who's the current superstars, nothing. I don't know anything. So when they asked me to style Meenakshi, she's huge. And she was so sweet and looks great. Pretty hot and it was so much fun styling her because she said, I don't care, I will try whatever you want me to wear.
That's
And it
good.
came out really well. And we got her some really interesting headgear and structured silhouettes and feather shoes. And she carried it off like how.
Yeah.
So it's nice, so that kind of work I'm okay to take once in a while. But otherwise, if it's going to be something that's not exciting, then I'm not looking.
And when you do this, do you feel that you need to get to know their personality and a little bit of their character also before you style them? Do you have like this talk before you?
No, I really don't get the chance to this thing. But I'll tell you what, before we even go ahead with the shoot, obviously we send them options.
Yeah.
And by what they pick, you already get an idea of what they're comfortable
Yeah.
with, what silhouettes that they prefer.
Yeah.
So in fact, when I sent the first draft, she was okay with all the looks. I was like, wow. I mean, she's made it so easy. And she carried off and also you need to be confident. And she was willing to experiment. And I'll tell you another problem which I feel is the younger bunch, these girls who are willing to experiment, they're not given that many opportunities to dress in a particular way, wherein they really like it. I mean, the roles that they get demands them to be dressed in a sari or in that's how they dress outside is completely different, but how they expected to dress during even event promotions, it's completely different.
Are there any emerging homegrown southern labels that you feel deserve global attention?
I love Erode.
Okay.
And I love Archana Rao from Hyderabad.
Okay.
Again, they've showcased with us at Funky Fish, based out of Hyderabad. the attention to detail and the embroidery and the whimsical outfits and the silhouettes is just stunning. And I mean, she is a fashion week designer, but I love her style. Yeah. Like I mentioned, Erode, it's amazing because all their outfits are made out of jamakalam. You know, and jamakalam is a kind of carpet that they use, typically made in Erode. So all their garments, it could be a pantsuit, it could be jeans, it could be everything is made with jamakalam, which makes it so unique. You know, like and I feel a lot of it's very unfortunate because most of these younger brands who have the vision have limited resources. And today it's all about networking, being seen in the in the right place at the right time, knowing the right people, to be able to be seen at the right place and right time. So because we work with about 700,000 homegrown brands, a lot of brands who have, they can really like churn out amazing garments or accessories. Most of them don't have the investment. They're not able to churn out that much inventory because you also need an investment to be able to produce so many pieces.
Sad, right?
It is very sad. And I feel it could be Vogue, it could be Grazia, it could be this thing. I feel there should be a platform where smaller brands who don't have the money to, probably even create a capsule, maybe like a small collection. If someone can invest, I mean, Lakme is already doing it. I mean, they are doing it. But again, even those brands are the ones who have managed to get there by showcasing a proper full collection. But there are so many brands who don't even have the resources to make, say, a third garment. They're probably doing it themselves. So that is sad. And I hope that there are, like, I don't know, people who can somehow figure out how to help these budding designers.
We can. Indulge does. So,
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, that would be great. There's so many of them.
Do connect us.
Yes, I will, definitely.
So, who are the celebrities in the South who you feel have a good fashion sense?
For me, it's Dee. She's a singer, and I like Rana. I like I don't know the names. Vijay, is it Devar Konda? And Samantha, I like. Yeah, that's it. But internationally, I have like lots of favorites. Gwyneth Paltrow is one of my favorites. Zendaya is young and she's constantly pushing the envelope, and Deepika is always in front of the camera. Like, it's so effortless because of the styles that she picks. She can make a sack look great.
How environmentally conscious and pro-sustainable are you when it comes to fashion?
You said you've been following me.
Yeah.
Have you also seen that, for me, it's a constant struggle, but I'm not giving up. I've been pushing women, to just break the social stigma. Nobody wants to, agree or even be willing to buy a pre-loved bag. Will they buy a second-hand car? Yes. Will they buy vintage Chanel earrings? Yes. Why? Because vintage makes it seem like sound fancy or like cool. You say it's used or second-hand, they won't. And they don't want to acknowledge, even if they're buying it, they don't want to talk about it. Why? I mean, we're all educated. We are in, 2025. I mean, and I think as grown adults, as literate, like, we should set an example to the generation that's growing up. In fact, I feel they are better than us. So a lot of women who I meet, and I keep having these sales, and most of them say, listen, we're only buying it because it's you. We will not buy it from another person. I said, why? If it is authentic, it could even be this outfit that I'm wearing. A lot of people are actually buying, and that is something, it's very satisfying because I've managed to change a lot of women, like in terms of their thinking. Earlier, they won't want to buy something that's pre-loved. That's something that I have worn. I mean, I don't understand. It's you're going to wash the outfit and wear it. And so many sites have started, and so a lot of them haven't worked, wherein you can rent an outfit. It could be for a wedding, it could be for this thing at a nominal cost, which is a great idea. And there are a lot of sites who are doing it as well. You rent a garment, it could be a bag, it could be a pair of shoes. So slowly I feel it's changing, but whatever I can do, I'm trying my best to just change at least the people who are following me. And now I feel to an extent they're okay. And I'm having this closet sale not finding the time. I was supposed to make it a party and keep it in this thing. But most of my followers, I have some 2-3% followers in Chennai. Everybody is outside. They're like, no, you do it online. So I'm gonna like sell everything for 500,000, whatever. Like
And you get good response now because it's not the
all
first
my
time.
bags
Yeah.
in 1 hour they sell out. 1.5 hours, everything is gone. And some of the bags are like 3-4 lakhs. And it's
good,
great
yeah.
that people are okay with, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
But I also keep my stuff very well. so.
Yeah. Your love for the sari is also very evident. Is it from your mum? And you carry it with such grace and with such.
See, I cannot drape.
Yeah.
I mean, it's whatever I get.
Yeah.
But yes, my mom, she would literally drive to Kanchipuram, see this thing, and her color choices, you know, they were not too loud. It'll be your dull blues and grays and those dull golds. It's beautiful, and I think I somehow like, obviously, like I've also always said, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Most of my wedding saris right now have been like made into pantsuits, or I have one plain silk suit and I've made the sari into a dupatta. Because you need to repurpose. There's no, I'm not going to be able to wear that sari like it's a gold tissue sari. I'm not going to be able to wear it outside. And I don't have that many occasions as well. So I feel even as a like today's modern bride, at least the ones who are sensible enough, they shouldn't be wasting like lakhs and lakhs of rupees on stuff that is so heavy that it's just gonna like, and you're wasting your money, and it's just no point. I don't see the point. I feel they should invest or at least buy pieces that can be dressed down to be worn at multiple occasions, you know. It could be a lehenga, but make it a jacket, or I don't know, make it or something, or at least get it like retailored to make sure that you use it.
Yeah.
So that way I feel the younger generation, they know that they're not going to be wasting so much money on ridiculous like outfits that they will never ever get to wear again.
Coming back to the sari, which is the one drape weave designer or design house that you love for saris?
So recently, I've started working with Drapery, based out of Arni. He's great. I mean, his vision and the kind of weaves that it's beautiful. Like it's almost like, you know, he's telling a story through his saris. At Milan Fashion Week, I wore one of his gold tissue saris, and it actually had a globe. And the other ones, they have peacocks, and it's all like, it's beautiful. You should this thing. And the very essence of the whole, it's because they show the artisans in Arni sitting and weaving. So, you know, he's literally telling a story. There's a story behind every sari that he makes. So that is, I love Drapery. But
What about Sabyasachi? No?
I mean, yes. I mean, I love the whole edgy boho feel to it. It's great. I mean, if you can afford it, then yes. If you can't, I mean, there's so many options that you can look at. But I love the vision. I like how he's completely revolutionized, like, and how it's you know, it's a proud feeling when you're in New York and you go to Bergdorf's and you see his stuff. It could be, I mean, it's the same case. Like when you're outside, you're proud of your fellow. Anything. It could be any field that, you know, they've excelled in. So that obviously, there's so much pride when you see these designers. Like when you see a Beyonce wear a Rahul Mishra or a Gaurav Gupta, it's exciting.
Yeah.
So that way, it's great what they've done as Indian fashion designers. But I'm saying there's so much talent. And I feel that talent should also come out and, and I feel the celebrities should also pick the smaller brands to be and promote them on the same stage.
Is it hard sometimes for you to promote or endorse a brand which you don't kind of go with or believe in?
Now I've become a lot more conscious. Earlier I would go by pictures.
The challenges you guys face, like as a stylist or as a fashion influencer, what could be some of the day-to-day challenges?
I cannot tell you.